Hello, people. Welcome back to GNA TV. Also, people, welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV. Obviously, we're airing on both channels at the moment. We have got a special Ben Jacobs with us as well, who we will be talking to in a second. But we need to speed up things because he's not going to be here too long. So let me cue the intro and let's get on with this. Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV. Also, Chelsea Fan TV viewers, welcome back to the channel as well. Keep smashing them like buttons if you can, as on the way through this show today. I ain't going to be able to be saying that too much because we've got so much to discuss in such a short space of time. But Ben, welcome back to the show again. How are you?
Great to be here. 2 shows and only one of me. I certainly wish there was 2 of me during the transfer window. I'd get a lot more sleep.
Yeah, exactly that. All right, we're going to sort of target everything Chelsea at the moment. I know it's a very busy time at the moment for you, not only on the Chelsea forefront, but in football in general. So let's start with it. And I want to start on news in and around Nathan Ake, because it's sort of a bit of a mixed feeling from the Chelsea fan base. Some feel it's quite a decent option for Tuchel and Chelsea to buy. Some others look at him and feel maybe not so in terms of the profile of player he is. Any more news on him as well, where we stand with him?
Yeah, I think the fan base is divided because they obviously know the player very well. But from my perspective, just my opinion, it's a smart piece of business. And my understanding is that the 2 clubs have been discussing a fee, much like with Raheem Sterling, and they're getting pretty close. But the question from Chelsea's perspective is about when they might green light this move. So there's a confidence at the club's end in terms of getting the player, but there's so many defenders currently in the conversation that there's still a prioritization. So it's a slightly strange scenario in the sense that usually a club will advance negotiations because if they succeed, they're fully intent on signing. Whereas from Chelsea's perspective, their number 1 priority at Manchester City is Raheem Sterling. And Ake would be a smart bit of business. They need a centre-back, but let's not forget that Chelsea is still very much in the Jules Koundé deal, and at the same time they are talking to Juventus about De Ligt as well, and they won't be in a situation where they bring in more than 2 centre-backs. They'll get a possible right back, which is why players like Jonathan Klaus have been linked, and then they may go with somebody who is versatile. And let's not forget that Ake can kind of fill in left back, centre back, and move around a back 3 or a back 4. So that will certainly be of use. But what's not going to happen is that Chelsea will rush through this deal just to get a defender in when there's so many others that they also want. So Ake's a smart bit of business, financially speaking, and because he knows the fit of the kind of club. Obviously there's ex-teammates still there and so on, and he has Premier League experience, so he can slot straight in. But Chelsea want Koundé, they want De Ligt, they're still exploring the possibility of Koulibaly, but it's really difficult because Napoli, even though club executives may want to sell, it's been made clear by the football department that they'll be extremely disappointed if he's allowed to leave. And that is going to be problematic as well. And then there's still the string of other defenders as well that Chelsea are looking at. And I think that we're in this strange position, possibly because it's a World Cup year, maybe because we're coming out of the pandemic and clubs are also able to still adjust their figures preferentially due to COVID, and as a consequence make more space for transfer fees within the Premier League profit and sustainability rules, because you can offset more of your losses currently, and the teams that are not in financial turmoil are kind of able to utilize that and spend a little bit more. And as a consequence of all of that, teams are moving fast, and it almost feels like it's the last week of the window as opposed to the first 2 weeks of the transfer window. But the Ake deal is one where I think Chelsea will just take a breather. They'll get an agreement in place with Manchester City. I don't think there's any worry that that won't be the case because City are perfectly willing to sell. Then they'll take a breath and compare that to their other defensive options and priorities. And then perhaps in more like 2 weeks' time, they'll make a determination. Now, of course, if they find that De Ligt's only available in a straight cash deal, or Koulibaly is definitely not going to be sold, then it makes much more sense to swoop in and take Nathan Ake. I think the perspective of Chelsea is if they want Ake, they can get him. So there's not really a fear of that deal being particularly hijacked by any other clubs, even though there are, of course, other teams within the Premier League making inquiries, but nothing too advanced at this stage.
And interesting stuff, actually, because obviously was the next person I wanted to move onto was De Ligt, actually, because again, it's another one that Chelsea seem very hungry to get. It seems like from what we've heard from the Juventus chairman as well, that they feel that maybe he potentially wants to leave himself as well, and that it would be hard to hold him back in many ways. And if the right deal is struck, then they'll be open to or willing to allow De Ligt to leave. Now, in recent weeks, we've been linked with Werner potentially as a part of the deal, and now we're hearing Christian Pulisic. Chelsea it sounds like trying to use like sort of a player exchange to bring down the actual fee cost itself. But any more news on De Ligt and Chelsea?
Well, I think exactly what you said. The breaking news last night was first-hand confirmation, or by implication anyway, that De Ligt would be allowed to leave. However, the caveat to those comments is that it has to be at a preferential price from Juventus's perspective. And their take, as you would expect in a negotiation, has always been that they want a straight cash deal. And that is said simply because when you have multiple suitors looking at a high quality player at the age of 22, Juventus, who themselves could do with incoming, are always going to talk in cash terms, in the same way that Inter spoke to Chelsea about Lukaku. They knew that Chelsea were looking at Milan Skriniar and Alessandro Bastoni, and yet they said, if you want either of those players, come back to us separately for a straight deal. Swap deals are always problematic. And that's what makes the Todd Boehly factor really interesting, because he is used to being in that environment and almost coming to the table with an extra perspective taken from baseball. Now, that's not to say that swap deals don't happen in football or have never been suggested before, but it's complicated because you have a priority of wanting De Ligt, and then suddenly you have to factor in an outgoing. And does that player want the move? Did Juventus want that player in the first place? And the red flag, to be perfectly honest with you, with any swap deal, I'm speaking a bit more generally now to try and inform people listening, is as soon as you start hearing a long shopping list of players that might go the other way, what that tells you is that Juventus haven't fixed on a particular name yet. And as a consequence, it's difficult, because they might look at Pulisic and say, great, but we've got 3 other players at 3 other clubs, so we'd much rather you just give us 100-odd million euros. And then if we want Pulisic, we'll come back to you separately. And guess what? We'll then take the money you've given us and we'll give you however many millions back. So that's kind of a swap deal by default, but it's actually 2 separate deals, probably not being done at the same time. So it's complicated. But of course, what fans want to hear, and they can neatly connect narratives, because this is what happens, I don't know, on a Championship Manager, is which one of our players is going to finance the De Ligt deal. And it's a bit more complicated at this stage, because Juventus' starting point in negotiations remains that they want a straight cash deal. Chelsea's starting point is that they prefer not to pay that amount of money. And if they do, it would ideally be in a staggered form, because you just can't do the maths at Chelsea. You need 5 or 6 players, let's say, 2 defenders minimum, maybe even 3 if you bring in 2 centre-backs and a right-back. A goalkeeper might still be needed, a midfielder might still be needed, plus 2 attacking players. Try and do that within 200, even 250 million, if you've already removed 100-odd million for De Ligt. Sterling at, let's say, 45 to 50 million. Should Raphinha come, 55 to 60 million. Even if a Dembélé signed on a free, you've still got to factor in the wages and so on. So you're not left with that much money to get your other primary targets. Koundé is 55 million. And that's why Chelsea are obviously considering a swap deal. And also because, to be perfectly honest with you, there's a domino effect where if you want Raphinha, as I reported yesterday, Deco is saying who's going to be leaving to guarantee his game time. And that's when Ziyech, Werner, Pulisic, and so on all have to be factored into the equation. So then coming back to De Ligt more specifically, if a swap deal happens, Juventus would actually prefer, as I understand it, Jorginho. And Chelsea haven't really spoken to the player at this stage to determine whether that's realistic. Pulisic is creeping into the conversation because he is also another one that Juventus have admired and comes highly recommended by Weston McKennie. And not only that, but as I reported probably 2 months ago now, when Pulisic was first being linked as a Sadio Mane replacement, of which there was no truth in that rumour, if Pulisic leaves Chelsea, his next destination is highly likely to be Serie A. So what we know from early clues is that Pulisic of the three is the most likely to actually say, I would be willing to be part of a swap deal. Jorginho seems to be the one still that Juventus would like in an ideal world, but that doesn't mean that they'll get him. And Werner is now starting to kind of fade from the equation. And I think part of that as well is because if Ziyech goes, let's say, to Milan, which is a very real possibility, then Chelsea need to determine whether, first of all, they even want to lose one more, which might be why Jorginho ends up being the player that they agree upon, because they may say, if Ziyech goes, we actually would like both Pulisic and Werner to stay. Or they may get rid of Pulisic or Werner, then Ziyech could still end up going to Milan. That paves the way for Raphinha to come in. And who knows, maybe even space for one more. So I don't mean to give all those possibilities to sound vague or waffling. It's just so the fan base understand that at the current stage of negotiation, these are the considerations. Juventus want straight money. Chelsea don't want to pay straight money. Pulisic, Jorginho would be the two leading players that they would push forward in a negotiation, but nothing has advanced enough yet to make any predictions beyond that.
Interesting. It all seems still up in the air from a Chelsea standpoint, and it feels like Todd Boehly in many ways is kind of trying to fill out as many clubs as possible on the targets that potentially Chelsea want before making decisions as well. Maybe that's why they ain't rushing a signing like De Ligt. We've heard Skriniar's, we've heard Kimpembe's, we've heard Koundé's, like you said, Nathan Ake. There's a number of players that Chelsea are looking to sort of line up. But just a quick word on Jules Koundé, because I know there's a lot of Chelsea fans that feel like it's just disappeared. Have Chelsea left it? Are they not interested anymore? Is Barcelona gonna, nick Jules Koundé off Chelsea? Like, what is your stance on Jules Koundé? Is it a thing of that Sevilla and Chelsea just haven't come to an agreement on the bid, or where do we stand with him?
Well, first of all, Barcelona can't pinch Raphinha, Koundé, and take Christensen and Alonso and Azpilicueta all off Chelsea. Otherwise, they basically become Chelsea. And it's not realistic because they're also looking at Lewandowski as well. So there's going to have to be an acceptance at Barcelona that they cannot negotiate for all of these targets. And also, still, agent talk is vital. And we've learned this firsthand from the Dembélé saga, where the agent will put out rumours, interests, pre-agree deals simply for leverage. And it doesn't mean anything. Like the fact Raphinha has a 4-year deal agreed with Barcelona may be an indication of his dream to play for Barcelona, but it's also perfectly normal practice for players to agree multiple deals. And it's not a reflection of where they're necessarily going to go. So you have to be a little bit patient and give a player time to decide, give an agent time to negotiate, and also take some of the news with a pinch of salt. And Koundé to Barcelona is very much the case. So they're going to probably let Lenglet leave for Tottenham. They are in all likelihood going to be able to bring in Christensen then, and they may swoop for another centre-back, but they're not going to get all of their targets. Chelsea haven't given up on Jules Koundé, and I've said this for weeks, even at a point when everybody thought it was dead. And I think the main difference in terms of information being relayed is from the word go. I was always told that Chelsea would have to meet somewhere close to the release fee, whereas I think that there was a feeling, perhaps early on and initially, and maybe through the old regime at Chelsea, that they, through their long-standing negotiations and their agreement on a 5-year deal with Jules Koundé, would be able to shave, roughly speaking, 10 or 12 million off the release fee. And now it seems that it's either going to be the release fee paid or somewhere around 5 million euros less. So still a pretty high fee. And a compromise will probably be reached. But Chelsea are still talking to Sevilla. They still want Jules Koundé to be one of their 2 defensive signings. So they've not given up on this deal. So in the same way that we're saying it is Sterling plus one other in an attacking sense, Chelsea have always looked at it as Koundé plus one other in a centre-back or defensive sense. And they've not given up on that approach. It's just that the transfer window has got a lot of mileage left in it. So it's natural that a club like Sevilla will play hardball. And this is the sort of intricacy, again, of a negotiation, that if you agree a deal first with the player, it can in some cases give you leverage, because then you go to the selling club and that club know the player wants to join you. But when there's this amount of time left on the window, it can give a club like Sevilla all of the control, because they can say, well, great, the player wants to join you. They've signed a contract. We know that there is at least a vague interest from Barcelona as well. So we're now going to frustrate you. We're going to play hardball. We're going to pit the two clubs against each other. And the only reason why I think that Koundé is still more likely to get done at Chelsea is that Sevilla are not dealing with a bidding war, because much like with Raphinha, they know Barcelona cannot afford that kind of fee either that they're asking for. So eventually, and maybe in a week or two, maybe even more towards the end of the window, a compromise will get done. But the short answer is that Chelsea are very much still in the race for Jules Koundé.
Interesting. Okay, we'll move from the defensive aspect. Guys, there's still over 450 of you here. Big up to every single one of you guys. Please make sure we get these likes over 100, please. Also follow Ben Jacobs on his Twitter as well. I want to move on to the one that's sitting on most Chelsea fans' tongues right now, which is Raphinha, because originally it sounded like, from what Fabrizio Romano said, it was like it was a full agreement. You know, we was just got to sort the personal terms out, and it's done, and he's coming to Chelsea, and we beat Arsenal to it. They took a massive L, and we all got excited because Arsenal, you know, we hijacked it from Arsenal, as you would be in a Chelsea fan. And then we hear obviously Deco in Barcelona, and you know. Sort of what we were hearing yesterday was that potentially Barcelona are trying to hijack the deal off Chelsea. Obviously, today we've been told that Deco's going to meet with Chelsea and maybe just give them sort of more of an image of what's actually happening from the Raphinha standpoint. But is there any other news, and how confident? I mean, let's look at it from the Barcelona aspect before we get to the Chelsea aspects. Do you see Barcelona matching the Chelsea bid from your eyes?
Well, I don't think Barcelona need to match anything that Chelsea do, unless, of course, Deco goes back to Barcelona and plays hard ball. So the two clubs, Barcelona and Chelsea, are in completely different positions. Barcelona have already agreed a deal with Raphinha, personal terms back in March. So when people are using the word hijack, it's Chelsea that have hijacked an Arsenal offer, and Arsenal had hijacked a Barcelona, in inverted commas, offer. So they never actually have reached an agreement with Leeds United, and nor did Arsenal. But Barcelona were the first to Raphinha. They agreed personal terms back in the middle of March. So it's possible, if we're solely comparing personal terms to personal terms, that Barcelona will be forced to change those terms. But it's more likely that whatever's on the table from Barcelona has already been agreed. So Barcelona's task is to find the funds, if they want to proceed, to get an agreement with Leeds United. Arsenal's task, if they re-enter the race, is to make another bid. As of 2 days ago, Edu was waiting for clarification from Deco to know what the score was, because Arsenal don't want to waste their time. If now Chelsea have entered, they become third in the pecking order. But if Arsenal get intimation that Raphinha is prepared to decide between Chelsea and Arsenal, they may well re-enter the race in the hope that Barcelona don't strike any deal with Leeds United. So it's very complicated. And Barcelona's position is they need funds, and then they need to negotiate with Leeds United. And they're obviously going to have to basically table what Chelsea have agreed. Otherwise, Leeds are going to keep rejecting the offer. Chelsea's task is to get Raphinha to agree terms. And I was always told that this would be complicated and have to move fast. So the tactic at Chelsea's end is they need to move within 48 hours. I reported that a day or so ago, to try and get Raphinha to agree terms with them before Barcelona are in any realistic position to either agree a fee with Leeds United or proceed. Barcelona's hope is that they leave everything hanging and Raphinha is prepared to remain a little bit longer within the window before determining his future, which might require him to start being back at Leeds United, playing in a pre-season game with Leeds United. And this, again, is the advantage of the Chelsea pitch, that they can say to Raphinha on day one, you'll come with us to the US, and then it's a World Cup year and you're settled. And Barcelona need to either get themselves in that position by moving extremely fast, probably impossibly fast, or have Raphinha tell them that he's so intent on a move, he's prepared to wait. And that puts him into the Robert Lewandowski category, who's essentially saying, I will join Barcelona. I'll wait as long as it takes. I don't mind if there's consistent rejected bids. I'm just going to bide my time. And by the end of the window, I'll be a Barcelona player. That's Lewandowski's take. And Barcelona are hoping that Raphinha takes a similar tactic. And I think that when it was first reported, I got hammered or questioned or whatever you want to call it on social media, because my information was that the player has not decided, as opposed to it's a done deal. And that remains the case at the moment. Todd Boehly, if we move on to the Chelsea perspective, is taking a very proactive, very direct approach, and he's making sure that Chelsea do not mess about, which means whatever happens, Chelsea are doing everything in their power to get this over the line. It's a 5-year contract. The wage is around 120,000 a week, far more than his Leeds United package. And Chelsea feel that the specifics of everything they can offer will trump the Barcelona package on paper if we're solely talking about financials, incentives, bonuses. And then on top of that, they will very much tell him how he fits in the team, which is why Deco was asking about incomings and outgoings. He's got a teammate in Mendy. He's got a compatriot that he really likes in Silva. So there's a lot of appeal to the Chelsea move. But again, as I said yesterday as well, it's irresponsible journalism at this stage to start saying it's definitely done or it's 99.9% likely to be done. Chelsea, I would say, are 90% confident that they will agree terms with Raphinha because on paper, those financials are strong. So therefore, Raphinha is likely to look at the actual numbers and say that's fine. He's likely to look at the Chelsea team, UCL football, and say that's fine. But the key point here in everything, which I think people keep forgetting, is that players will regularly agree deals with multiple teams. So even if Raphinha looks at the numbers and says, great, I would agree to that, it still doesn't mean it's a done deal, because he may say, I'll agree to it, let me think. I'll agree to it, let me go back to Barcelona. I'll agree to it, let me see if Arsenal have come in. And at this point, again, to reiterate, and I know it's not the sexiest news, but it's the reality, Raphinha has not decided his next football club. In the next 24 to 48 hours, he might. And if he makes a decision that quickly, it's highly likely it will be to Chelsea, because that's the tactic. If he remains undecided, with every day that passes, it becomes more likely that Barcelona are trying to find the funds and then he'll go there instead. So the good news is if we get terms agreed quickly, Chelsea will be even more confident of blowing Barcelona away before they find the funds. If we get to another 7 to 10 days, and there's still an undecided message coming from the Raphinha camp, then by implication, Barcelona becomes the more likely destination. So it's a big kind of 24 and 48 hours for Chelsea.
100%. And hence why probably Todd Boehly's trying to move as quickly as possible to try and get this across the line. I don't think he wants to leave any sniff of uncertainty in the Raphinha camp. And it makes a lot of sense as well. Guys, there's over 700 of you here combined. Thank you very much. Keep smashing the likes as quickly as possible. Staying on the whole Raphinha thing, because I feel like it might be a slight domino effect. But if Barcelona do come in for Raphinha, what does that mean for Dembélé?
Well, Dembélé is in an interesting situation because he has now reached the end of his contract and has still not signed anything at Barcelona. And this is part of the gamesmanship and the negotiations, particularly by Sissoko, saying that there's a ton of other offers. If there were any other offers, formal ones on paper, and Dembélé either had no option at Barcelona or Barcelona couldn't meet the finances to the point where, as Dembele's camp have always implied, which in itself is probably a little bit of a bluff, he would walk away, Dembélé would have signed for allegedly PSG or Chelsea or Liverpool. But the reality with Dembélé is that Liverpool never made an offer. There is zero interest from Liverpool. PSG under Campos do not want Dembélé, and that's highly unlikely to change, even if he walks away from Barcelona and is completely free to the market. And Thomas Tuchel did absolutely and directly tell Todd Boehly that he wants to explore a move for Dembélé, but then they heard his wage demands. And this is a player that is in a really difficult position now. And my only sympathy for Dembélé is that he has been asked to take a pay cut at Barcelona when he's got 13 assists in 21 La Liga games. And I think that many of us, if we did well at work, got scored highly in an appraisal, and then were asked to take a pay cut, would also be considering our future. But it's the fact that Dembélé isn't just asking for realistic wages or adequate compensation. Dembélé is asking for sky-high wages that are not within Chelsea's pay bracket and are not able to be met under financial fair play by Barcelona. So now we're at the end of the bluffing, the end of the agent narratives with no substance. And the reality is exactly the same, that Dembélé is a player Barcelona want to keep and has no other formal offers on the table at the moment. So probably now in the next 24 or 48 hours, because his contract is expired, he's either going to have to sign what's put in front of him. Barcelona are going to compromise a little bit potentially, but they've always maintained that they don't want to up that offer, or he will have to walk away. So then with Raphinha, if Raphinha joins Barcelona, then does that mean Barcelona go back to their original plan and say, right, we've sped up Raphinha, now the offer's off the table to Dembélé? And he could suddenly find himself in an even more difficult position where he's got even less control. That's one possibility. The other possibility is just the fact that regardless of Raphinha, Barcelona force effectively Dembélé to sign on the lowest possible terms, the offer that's currently on the table. And if that's the case, then it's cost effective for Barcelona. And that's what Xavi wants. He wants a Dembélé, and he wants him at wages that are affordable, because then they can go into the market and potentially still bring a Raphinha in as well. But Chelsea have always said that if they move on Dembélé, they will do so after the contract expires, which is now. And given Chelsea haven't put a formal offer down for Dembélé yet, they've heard his demands, they've thought about what the package might entail, and that's about it. So now Dembélé is out of contract. Chelsea may end up moving, depending on what happens with the Raphinha situation. However, at the moment, if you rank the likelihood, it's Sterling +1, as I said before. So Sterling's the priority, Raphinha is the priority, which means that Dembélé is going to also have to wait from Chelsea's perspective. So he's really short of options at the moment, which is why he may just end up taking the offer on the table from Barcelona.
Interesting. We are going to talk Sterling, which is going to be one of the last things we talk about. But I always keep getting asked to ask you of one name, and it's a name that sort of is slowly starting to ring around Twitter more and more, and it's the name Neymar. It sounds interesting because PSG seem, from what we're reading from GFFN news and people like that, they're saying that they feel that PSG are willing to allow Neymar to go, that Neymar himself actually wants to go, and they've offered them to Barcelona at 43 million. Whether or not, I mean, I don't think Barcelona are going to be able to afford that with everything going on there, like we've already said. But there's talks about the potentials of his links with Tuchel, how well Tuchel got the best out of someone like Neymar. Do you think there would ever be an opportunity for Chelsea to potentially look or entertain a player of his caliber? Do you reckon?
Well, I think the first clue is in Dembélé, and if Chelsea aren't prepared to meet Dembélé's wage demands, there's immediately a red flag in terms of the package they would need to bring Neymar across. Although there may be a possibility, for example, of a loan deal and therefore wage sharing or just some kind of cheaper outlay. But PSG's stance is that Neymar, for the right offer, will be allowed to leave. And I think that sets Twitter in particular into overdrive. And Luis Campos has come in and has directly told not just Neymar, but the entire squad that if you're not a fighter, if you're not prepared to be squad rotated, if you've got an ego in this dressing room, if you've got false expectations about your role within the team and don't kind of show teamwork, then you're out. And that was relayed to everybody. And it's very much like a new mentality and a new era. And then Gaultier is coming in as well. And the honest truth is with Gaultier, we don't know what his take is on Neymar. So that's the second red flag as well, that a new manager, and Gaultier could well be announced today, certainly within the next 2 or 3 working days. It's a done deal. PSG are just waiting to finalize the finances behind Mauricio Pochettino's exit, but Gaultier, the former Nice manager, will be the next PSG boss. So that's the second factor, that his perspective may well be, well, I at least want to see Neymar in training, which is why I think a Neymar move is not imminent. It's going to be towards the back end of the window if anything happens. So there's complications with finances, and Chelsea won't break the bank for Dembélé. So would they break their wage bracket for somebody like Neymar? That's number one. And then, as I say, number two is the fact that Gaultier could still influence this. But PSG are willing to let Neymar leave. Other than that, everything else is just speculation. People naturally, and they do this with Ten Hag at Manchester United, will link Neymar with Chelsea because of Thomas Tuchel. And the other thing is, we know that Agent Silva, so to speak, has already made some flippant comments saying that the deal should get done. But what people are not quoting in that response is that he also said he knows absolutely nothing about it. So this notion somehow that within Chelsea there's a movement towards Neymar is not the case. So it's not impossible, but again, as I keep saying, there are other targets first. So Neymar is not a priority. It's not imminent. It's not advanced. I wouldn't even say it's likely at the moment, but it is of course possible because there's only a few finite clubs out there that, depending on how the deal is structured, can afford Neymar. So he's either going to go back to Brazil, which he's quite open to doing, but that would probably have to be a loan deal, and PSG would no doubt have to pay a big chunk of his wages. Or he's going to go to a destination outside of the Premier League. And people close to Neymar still say that the Premier League is not actually of massive appeal to him. But then if you take clubs that can afford him, they're most likely to be Premier League clubs. So that's where Chelsea come into the conversation and Newcastle come into the conversation. He's not interested in a move to Newcastle United. So by ruling out those where he can't go, Chelsea becomes a sort of front runner by logical deduction. But again, to reiterate and almost curb the excitement at this stage, not a priority, nothing advanced, nothing being tabled at the moment, but watch it over the window because it's not possible, but it is just speculation at this point.
Yep. We've got about 7 minutes left with Ben. We're going to attack the Sterling news next. Guys, keep smashing the likes as well to try and get this over 150 likes. Over 850 of you guys here. Thank you very much for all being here as well. Sterling is an interesting one. It seems like he is sort of Chelsea's main priority in the forward line, as you've mentioned many times before. It seems that we're at a point now where we're just waiting for Chelsea to mount that offer to Man City. Any refreshing or fresh news on the Sterling standpoint, or are we just still waiting?
So the clubs have been in regular conversation. Todd Boehly is again leading on this one, and Sterling, to reiterate, is the number one attacking priority. That doesn't mean he's going to be the first through the door because Chelsea are going to have to move very fast with Raphinha, but they really see Sterling as being the solution to the departure of Romelu Lukaku. So taking a step back, the first conversations between the clubs, there was a point of difference on price due to Sterling's contract situation. And at that point, Sterling had not intimated whether he was open to a move. He'd simply said that he was still going to decide his future. And Chelsea's first perspective was more to compare Sterling to Sadio Mane and try and get a deal done for somewhere in the region of 30 to 35 million. Manchester City's perspective was that they wanted 55 or even 60 million, and that's perfectly normal. And the clubs have slowly come to an agreement in their talks of a ballpark figure. So no specific fee has yet been determined, and there'll be add-ons and so on. But in essence, 45 to 50 million is now the agreeable ballpark for Sterling, and the clubs are really not that far apart on valuation. So what's unclear at this stage is whether Boehly's just going to be pulled towards Raphinha in the next 48 hours. But I would say within the next 7 days, Chelsea and Manchester City are highly likely to agree a fee. And then, much like Raphinha, it becomes up to Sterling to fully decide. But the difference between Raphinha and Sterling is that there's not that much competition for Sterling, because this notion that Real Madrid were going to come in before the window open never materialized. The same applies for Bayern Munich as well. Bayern, I suppose, is one to watch, just because if Lewandowski finally gets his move to Barcelona, who knows, they might hijack the bid. But that's just me giving an opinion. There's no evidence of that at this point. So Chelsea, a bit like Spurs almost with Richarlison, are just going to be able to have control of the deal. And I think it's advanced. I think both clubs are talking with confidence that this will be a done deal as far as a fee is concerned. And then it's all up to Sterling to agree terms. And there's no evidence to suggest at this point that Sterling isn't open to the move. So I think you'll be looking at a deal quite similar to the Gabriel Jesus one in terms of its financials, 45 odd million, maybe 50 million, which is a high price for a player when you consider that Sterling's only got a year of his contract left. But by the same token, he's 27 years of age and he scores goals for fun in the Premier League. So it's only my opinion, but I think that the Sterling deal is not only highly likely, but of all of Chelsea's deals, if we're talking about what's going to happen in the window rather than in hours or days, Sterling is the one that I am the most confident is going to happen for sure, because both Chelsea and Manchester City are speaking with high confidence. And when you then factor in that Sterling seems very open, unless Pep Guardiola has a U-turn, unless someone gets injured in pre-season, unless Sterling says, I want to fight for my place at Manchester City, all signs point towards that one being done. And as a consequence, Chelsea do have the opportunity to say, well, okay, let's either delay that meeting or delay those talks, and let's try and get Raphinha over the line, because time-wise it's more urgent. But I do think Raheem Sterling will get done, and I do think that the clubs will verbally agree a deal within the next week or so, depending on whether, as I say, Raphinha defines that timescale or not, because it becomes more urgent. And by the end of the window, like I say, Raheem Sterling, in my opinion, will be a Chelsea player.
Interesting stuff. I know people in the chat are asking me, can you ask him about the midfield? But honestly, he hasn't got the time. He's got to be somewhere else, unfortunately. I know there's a lot of talks over Savić, and some are asking about Rice and whatever else, but maybe we'll save that to another show. It's not like Ben's not going to come back, guys. We will ask him to come back on the show eventually, but it is getting to that time, Ben. So again, any sort of final words that you'd like to say? Sure.
Only just to answer those two questions in a couple of words. The Savić one, not the highest of priorities, one of those names that's crept in there due to the frustration over other defenders. So it just becomes kind of speculation at this stage. And this is natural within the window. Like, of course, Chelsea are exploring all of these different opportunities, and that's why the defenders list, the short list, is actually a very long list. It's a never-ending list, in fact, but that's natural when you have this amount of outgoings at Chelsea's end and you have to replace them. The defense is actually the priority, so the attackers are getting all of the headlines, and Lukaku's departure is caught up in all of that, and Dembélé is a marquee kind of name. So again, people are very excited by it, but really defenders and maybe even goalkeeper, high priority for Chelsea. So that's why they're looking at so many other names. And who was the other name that you mentioned?
Declan Rice, but we've spoke about that in the past.
Yeah, I don't see Rice leaving this window. I also would point out that the new information that I've got is that Broja is not part of any deal. So I think it's neat again to assume that Broja to West Ham will be factored in to Rice to Chelsea, and that's not my understanding. The opposite is true, that West Ham are only going to accept a cash deal and a straight deal for Declan Rice at this stage. And the reason why they're saying that is because it's gamesmanship again. They're only saying straight cash because he's not for sale in this window, and they're putting astronomical cash on Rice because they're not going to sell him this window. So it's all very well people saying, well, if we knocked off 30 million and then paid 65 or 70 million for Rice, they want Broja, it's a done deal. But West Ham's position is Broja or no Broja. They do not want to let Rice go in this window, so they'll continue to price him at 120, 130, 140 million. And I think that it's genuine at the moment at the West Ham end that Rice will not be allowed to leave this window. And I think only an insane offer financially will change the equation. So I think Rice is one that Chelsea fans can forget about for now.
That's fine. Yeah, well, things forever change in the Chelsea, in the Chelsea window. Things always seem to jump out of the blue. The Raphinha one did sort of slap a lot of Chelsea fans in the face and sort of woke us up. Not going to lie, the way it came out originally, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Chelsea do over this window. Still so much to report on as well. I will let you go because I know you've got somewhere else to be now as well. But thank you again for coming on GNA TV and obviously Chelsea Fan TV as well. We have collabed, so this is something we'll be doing a lot more down the road, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you back on, Ben, when you're available.
I look forward to it. Good to chat as ever.
Thank you. Take care. See you in a bit. Guys, how are you doing? Big up to everyone that's in the chat at the moment as well. I want to thank Ben for coming on the show and bringing us some of them transfer news as well. We are going to continue this show as well. There is a couple of things that we're going to highlight on that has come up on Twitter as of recent. And one of the things that has come up is obviously talked in around Nathan Ake. And it says that it would take over 50 million for Chelsea to convince Man City to even consider looking for a replacement, which would allow Nathan Ake to depart this summer. 50 million sterling is what we're hearing now. Originally, we was told it was going to be around, I don't know, 40 million. And then we was told, well, actually, it's 28 million plus add-ons, which will then bring it up to about 34.5 mil. So that's that for me personally. That for me personally is well too much from a Chelsea standpoint. Look, some people may feel that Nathan Ake is a good suit or fit for Chelsea, and I get it. I understand the versatility of the player, but you got to bear in mind this is a player that hasn't. He's second fiddle at Man City. He was okay at Bournemouth. He had a good stint at Bournemouth. Yeah, Chelsea let him go for a reason, and it's not that I don't think it's a good option to have him here. It's not. I would, but we have to be careful with what we spend. And if you're going to spend 50 million on Nathan Ake, why would you not go and spend 55, 60 million on Koundé? Like, there's no sense in that. Unless Todd Bowley's thinking to himself, well, Matthijs de Ligt is around 100 million. Like Ben Jacobs said just now, Juventus are looking to hold out for 100 to 120 million in fee, and they don't really want to take a player other than maybe Jorginho as being one of the options. But if it's a route that Bowley wants to go down, then he could potentially go for Ake and Koundé, and that would cost him roughly around 100 plus mil to do so. But then I would still expect a player to come through the door. I still think we'd need that third centre back, and that's the most interesting thing as well. I think, it's ridiculously too much as well. Alexis, big up to you, my guy, as well. Do you know what, Alexis? I don't know what you're doing right now. I haven't seen you on here. Let's see what you're saying. We'll open the lines as well, guys. Get your thoughts on what Ben Jacobs said in regards to Raphinha, and we will highlight that quickly as well. We'll highlight that quickly as well. Obviously, going through some of it, we will have timestamps. Sorry, I'm going to lose my mind. We will have timestamps on this show, so you will have a breakdown of the minute per minute of the discussions of each individual player that we spoke about, which will be created by one of the guys in our show on GNA TV and hopefully on Chelsea Fan TV as well, if it can be done over there, so people that haven't seen it can recap and look at the news in and around what Ben Jacobs said. But I'll make it very clear to you guys. We spoke about Ake. He feels that it is one of Chelsea's main priorities. He also said Ake and Koundé as being one of the main priorities for Chelsea. He said that with the Koundé, Chelsea are more likely to strike a deal with him. So more positive news coming out on that forefront, even though it's sort of quietened down in and around the Koundé news. But he still feels that Chelsea could strike a deal to see him and potentially Ake. De Ligt is a little bit harder in terms of the fees and whatever else, depending on what player they take in. Raphinha news, as you already know, 24 to 48 hours. This next 24 to 48 hours is very important. Today's meeting with Deco and Chelsea is even more important. So that's going to unfold later today. We should learn more on that as well. And once we do, hoping it's a done deal. We will be back here to do a show and speak on whatever the outcome is. But he made it very clear that if it does drag out 5, 6, 7 days down the line, then we should be slightly worried that potentially Barcelona will pip and take him on. Dembélé's still up in the air. He himself is left with minor hours left to make a decision on whether he, he's going to sign the contract that's been put forward to him, which is lower than the first official contract he was given. He's got a decision on his hands to make, whether he stays at Barca or he leaves himself as a free agent. We'll wait to see on that. Sterling, again, he feels that it's going to be sort of a confident thing that Sterling will happen. So, again, we'll keep an eye. And Neymar, one that you guys talk a lot about, Neymar. He is available from what Ben Jacobs is saying. PSG would look to sell him. He's not said to ignore it because it could, something could transpire at a later stage. But at the moment, no one's made initial interest into Neymar. Chelsea Fan TV is also looking for more mods on their group. Make sure if you're interested in being a mod, please let him know now in the chat as well. We've got 437 of you guys over at Chelsea Fan TV at 194 likes. Let's get this over 200 likes. On the GNA TV side, we've got 327 guys. So let's try and get this up to 150 likes. We've only got 127 likes. Let's try and close that to 200 likes as well, if we can do that, please. Yeah, Alexis is working. We have got... Well, I didn't think he was going to be able to join me, but let's see if he can be able to get in, if his camera allows him to work. 1 second. Let's see what people are saying in the chat in the meantime. I'd love to see a here we go for us. Monster.
Can you hear me, yeah?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I wasn't sure whether you'd pull through because it was just a blank screen.
Yeah, because I didn't expect myself to get home so quick. Let me see. I'm trying to... My camera's moving a bit. See if I can get it on.
Get your camera on. In the meantime, I'm Monster sorting out his camera, guys. Let me know if you've got... Yeah, there he is. There he is. How we doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I was watching a vid on my way home.
Yeah.
And I saw everything Ben Jacobs said, yeah.
Interesting? Anything stand out for you?
I mean, he did say, I think generally the things that, we already knew. He said basically, we're waiting, innit? There's a lot going on at Chelsea. It seems like Todd Bowley's all over the place in a positive way, not in a negative way. He's trying to get deals done, innit? So, meanwhile, while the video was going on, Fabrizio released an update with regards to De Ligt. Yeah, he did.
Oh shit!
But it was in a form of a YouTube video, so you would have to watch that separately. But he did say that basically Chelsea want De Ligt. De Ligt wants to move to the Premier League. The problem is obviously the price tag, and I think it's the price tag. I think he was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is something that Ben Jacobs, funny enough, said exactly the same thing. He said it's more of a thing of that if Juventus were to allow De Ligt to leave, and Chelsea are also trying to get a player swap in, the only player that they are actually willing to take on is either Jorginho or Pulisic. Now,
well, Fabrizio just said in that video that Juve do like Werner.
Do they? Interesting. Yeah. So he thinks Pulisic or Jorginho are where Juventus are looking at. Listen, things change all the time, and to be honest, it seems like Juventus, in hindsight, would prefer to have the cash. By the sounds of it, I think Chelsea from their side are just trying to offload players because, as we know, there's players that don't want to be at the club. Maybe wages as well. We've seen Lukaku go, Werner on an absolutely crazy wage set at the moment. Getting rid of Werner makes sense. It frees up the wage structure. It allows us to sign more players as well. But it's going to be interesting to see, because who do you feel, Monster, Chelsea will end up signing defensively? Who do you feel?
It's confusing at this point because I don't know. Like the one thing normally, what Ben said in terms of swap deals, they're not easy to get done.
Cool.
One thing I would say, one club that has done one recently is Juve, when they did a swap deal or something similar. I think it was you buy this player, I buy that player, but it wasn't in the form of a swap deal. It was what's his name, Pjanic and Arthur. They did like a deal together. So with that being said, you know, it's possible that something can be done. Maybe we buy De Ligt off them for a certain amount, and then they buy Werner off us for a certain amount. Maybe it's possible, but at the moment with defense, okay, what's on the screen in terms of Nathan Ake? You know, that seeing that, there's no way Chelsea are stupid enough to pay 50 mil for Ake, if we're being honest.
Fucking hell.
It's nowhere near worth
You
it.
know what drives me mad about the fan base bit is like a lot of them are accepting it a little bit and saying, well, he's versatile and it makes sense, you know, he's good with the ball at his feet and whatever. But for 55 mil or even close to 60 mil, Monster, you can get yourself Jules Koundé. do you know what I mean? Like it don't make no sense to me. Make sense of it. Do you know what I mean? Like I have no problems with Ake coming back to Chelsea, but I ain't spending more than 30 million on him.
100%. I mean, I was saying like if Ake was to come back, it's only worth it if it's around 25 to 30 mil. Anything more than that to me is not even worth it. Paying 55 mil or 50 mil, sorry, for Nathan Ake is absolutely ridiculous, and it's just not worth the cash. So me personally, like I would walk away from the Ake deal. I know what Chelsea are trying to do, trying to get in one, you know, big name centre back and then one smaller, lesser profile name centre back, which obviously makes sense considering the budget. But we do have to move smart.
Yeah, facts. 750 of us here right now combined, both on Chelsea Fan TV and GNA TV. Nice to see all you guys here. Let's get these likes over 200 as well. Make sure you go and check Monster out, Monster CFC as well. You're back, bro. It's nice to see you yesterday back. Are you back streaming now? What's going on?
Yeah, probably I am back. I've just been busy, man. Just creating projects and all that stuff. So I've been so busy, but I'm probably back for the summer. Back today till Tuesday or till Monday, because I am going Mallorca or not Barcelona, Mallorca on Tuesday, and I'll be back on Friday, I think.
Big up to Chelsea Fan TV.
Big up,
bro. Big up. Yeah, nice, bro. Nice. Listen, what's your thoughts on Raphinha? Are you? Because obviously we got the full agreement from Fabrizio Romano, and then we heard that Deco was in Barcelona yesterday, and then Chelsea meltdown, wasn't it? All of a sudden, you know, Barcelona are going to nick Raphinha off Chelsea. How do you see it from your standpoint?
So I'm watching it now. So now the Barcelona guy again, he's tweeted, the same guy that was kicking up a stir yesterday. He's now saying again, he started again, and he's saying, what do you say? Something's going on at Barcelona right now. So now we'll see what's happening now, because I don't know what that means. Does that mean that could either mean it could be Lewandowski, it could be Raphinha, or it could be Dembélé? Which one is it?
Yeah. Or it could be Dion.
Or Dion.
Yeah, people forget about Dion. Is that Gerard Romero guy you're talking about?
That guy, yeah, that guy.
What's he saying? I want to try and find what he's saying. Oh, he's on live, is he, at the moment? He's on a Twitch, isn't
Twitch,
he? Yeah. I've just seen. Interesting stuff, man. Listen, it's a weird one because we've agreed with Leeds the amount. The only way Chelsea don't get this is if Leeds agree with an agreement with Barcelona. And that's what Ben Jacobs said just now. He said, like, you know, this is why Chelsea trying to get it done within 48 hours, because the meeting today is key. Anything longer than that, if we're sitting here 3, 4, 5 days down the line and there's still no agreement with Raphinha, then he pretty much said that it seems that he feels that Barcelona will take him, because decisions have to be made today, and Todd Boehly will want to kick on with this. You know what I mean? Chelsea will want to know if he's not as, so that we can then go and do what we're going to do. But if Raphinha does go to Barcelona, what does it mean for Dembélé? What does it really mean for Dembélé?
If
you know,
they can't. This is the thing. Barcelona, they're number one. They're cash strapped. Number two, before they can even buy anyone, they've got to sort out their books first. So you can see already they're trying to get rid of Clermont Longley because they've got a long line of defenders, centre backs. I think they got 6 at the moment. I'm not even sure if that includes Christensen. So if I go through them, PK, Araujo, Longley, Umtiti, Garcia, and that's 5. Is there any more? That's 5 I can think of right now. Obviously, Christensen will make it 6.
Christensen will be 6.
They need to get rid of some names, and we've. I think Umtiti's already made it clear he's going to run his contract down to the last second.
Is Dani Alves still there?
Dani Alves is gone. He's gone.
Is he gone now? Okay, fair enough.
But a lot of those guys want to run their contracts down to the end because they want to get every penny they feel they deserve. So they've got to pay those guys and on top of that, they got to get guys off the book. And on top of that, they got to register the players they've brought in. So they brought in 3 players, right? The guy from Valencia, I can't remember his name. I always forget his name. The second player is Christensen, and the third player is Frank Kessie. Those are 3 players they still haven't registered yet. They've got to register those.
Too much going on, and that's what Ben Jacobs just said half hour ago. He said, "What people what people are not realizing is that Barcelona can't buy Raphinha, they can't renew Dembele's contract, they can't then get Lewandowski. They've still got players that haven't registered. They literally cannot." Jacobs brown envelopes being minerals. They can't get all of that done. It's merely impossible for them to get all of the all of it done at any one time. So he feels that they will probably pinpoint certain deals that they will want to stick with, and if it means not renewing Dembele's contract to bring in Lewandowski, for example, then they will do that. It's going to be interesting to see, because with Barcelona, we don't even know if they've got that influx of cash yet, do we? Or if they've been approved for that, or what? Like, we don't know their financial standpoint. Where are they at the moment with it? Like, because I just feel like they are literally causing chaos at the moment in the market across everywhere. And I'm talking about with Man United, with Dion, with us, with originally Raphinha and then Dembele, Lewandowski. To them is still dragging out. They've not registered Christensen. Like, there's so much that's going on, and it's all linked to Barcelona. It's a mad thing.
They're saying Deco. I just seen a video of Deco in Barcelona. He's in Barcelona.
What, right now?
Right now.
He was in Barcelona yesterday. He was meant to be at Chelsea today.
No, he was meant to have a video call with Chelsea. He wasn't meant to be necessarily in London. If this is the thing, right? If he wants to desperately take him there, I think we should just let that one live and go somewhere else. Like, this saga is kind of just dragging out now. It's a bit exhausting now. Does he want to join, or does he not want to join? If he doesn't, it's cool. Let him join Barca. I don't think Barca will have the money regardless. So this is becoming a waste of our time in general. What are we doing here?
Alexis has just messaged me saying, drop me the link. So let's get Alexis in as well. I like Alexis. I haven't had him on here before as well. What are we doing? That's the thing. And do you know what? How do you feel like Todd Bowley's moved at the moment? Obviously, he's took on a big job in what he's done, getting rid of Marina. But obviously, we've got Bruce Buck gone, Petr Cech's dropped off. Like, he is literally thrown himself in the fire at the moment. Like, do you feel how do you feel he's moving at the moment? Do you feel like he's trying to just find out?
He's doing the right thing. I mean, I don't think anything Chelsea have done is wrong. If they've put the money on the table and said, "Are you coming to Chelsea?" and then they're saying, they want to join Barcelona, there's nothing more you can do. So I can't blame him for that. There's nothing wrong. He put the money on the table. He put the highest bid on the table. He's put the wages on the table. If Raphinha's like, "I want to join Barca," what more can you do? Chelsea can't do anything more. I cannot blame Chelsea for doing that personally. So
I know, but you know what our fan base is like? They're so impatient a lot of the times. Like, it's like, "Oh, we haven't got no one yet. What we doing? Todd Bowley's useless. Todd Bowley out." Like, people need to understand.
They need to go out and touch grass.
They do. It drives me mad. Chelsea are working on Raphinha and Raheem Sterling right now, and are also in talks over Nathan Ake. That's Fabrizio Romano on YouTube right now. So maybe that Deco in Barcelona is that video call with Chelsea. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I think a lot's going to happen today, Monster. I don't know why. I've got this feeling.
Deco's trying to get Barcelona to pay the money. He's trying to get him to pay the money, man.
Alexis, bro, big up, man. Nice to see you here.
How are you doing? You right? How you doing?
What are you saying, Alexis?
Not too bad, bro. It's been a while. I haven't seen you two in ages.
It's been a long time since we've been on a stream together, man. It's nice. It's very nice to all be back on. Listen, over nearly 800 of you guys here. Big up to every single one of you guys as well on both Chelsea Fan TV and GNA TV as well. Alexis, what's your thoughts on everything Chelsea at the moment, especially the Raphinha stuff?
Bro, I'm optimistic. Like, for once in my life, I actually like where Chelsea's going in a direction. Okay. We got a new board, which is you buy something, you want to have your own stamp on it. So I thought it was the right time for Marina to go. I think people were negative in terms of Marina. There was a lot of good she done. She's not perfect. But yeah, man, it's exciting. I still want Dembele over Raphinha, personally. So a part of me is hoping that Deco somehow pushes the Raphinha bid through. The centre halves, I don't hate the idea of Ake, but I don't want it to happen. I would much rather prefer a Koundé. I've liked Koundé from the outset. So that's the way we can go. All in all, I like the direction we're going. It's not panic buying, which is a good sign. I feel like Bowley being involved is a good thing as well. I feel like you can have owners that invest financially and just sit back and then not care, and after a while get bored. But the fact that he's involved, he might get to be a general manager. You know, like in American sports, the general manager plays a vital role. He's basically the sporting director. So if Bowley can, for the next 10 years, if he's at the club before he decides to sell on, he plays an active role, why not?
100%, 100%. Just sorry, I'm just reading through news on Twitter while you are talking as well. What's your thoughts on the defensive aspect of Chelsea? Who would be your preferred two main centre backs for Chelsea moving forward?
I'll be honest, I want Koulibaly because I like experience. I think we've got Colwell. I would love for him to get the left centre back role as last year's Chalobah, if you know what I mean. I don't mind Chalobah getting promoted. I think Chalobah's earned it. Like, if you're going to have a meritocracy within, you go on loan, you come back, you earn your place. Chalobah's, in my opinion, was as good as Christensen, as good as Aspie last year. And he never got the credit because he's not the sexy youth prospect. He's not the one that broke through from the outset. It's the one that went on loan. We forgot about him. He came back at age of 23 and all of a sudden he's part of the team. So Koulibaly would be good for like a long-term replacement for like Thiago Silva and Rudiger. And then Koundé, the thing is, I don't think it's possible to get Koundé and Koulibaly. This is the issue. I think it'll cost too much. I see the rumors about Koulibaly 35 million. I don't believe it'll be that cheap.
It would cost more to get De Ligt and, I don't know, Koundé or Ake in the way
but
that
surely Monster hit the nail on the head. It'll have to be player. Like, somehow players will go the other direction and then they'll do like the Auto deal. Even though Juventus and Barcelona are under investigation for it right now because the fees were a bit too high, allegedly. Yeah. So, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't have definitive answers, so I find it very hard to hold it against Chelsea for not having definitive answers at this moment in time. I just know what I don't want.
I think at this point, De Ligt, like, after seeing what's it called? What's his name? The Juve, the president or whatever, what he said. Now they must feel like they got to get rid of him now. Like, if you're not trying to, let him go, you don't come out and say that, do you? Like,
but Monster, they did that with Sandro as well. I feel like this is their way of like putting pressure on the opposing club to get the deal done. Like, we're trying to do business. Like, I hate Italian clubs, man. They have a tendency to do this. They just drag out every transfer.
Do you know what makes me laugh, right? It's these type of tweets, right? Because it's like Deco's still in Barcelona, just left the club offices. All right, and this is what Gerard Romero said.
He just said that, looking, he says a private plane will soon take off from Barcelona airport to London. We have to wait and see who it will be.
I think that's good. I think that's good news, man. I think that might be good news. I don't think he makes that journey if he's staying at Barcelona. Listen, I might be wrong, but why would you go all the way to Chelsea? Like this? Why would you go all the way to Chelsea?
I don't mind him personally.
To say, he wants to go to Barcelona when you can just go there. Like, I feel like there's more going on. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see what happens. If not him, he's probably just going to the toilet in that picture, and they think he's jumping on the plane or something. Do you know what I mean?
But he's trying to push them to get Raphinha. For being honest, he's trying to. But I just don't think they have the money. I just don't think they do.
They don't have the money, and everyone's talking about these financial levers, and I don't think we'll have like the insight on what's fully going on. I remember listening to ESPN FC, I think it was a week ago, and they were explaining that these financial levers are essentially good for now, but they're not fixing their long-term revenue issues, nor their La Liga requirement issues. So anyone they sell now, they can only bring back a quarter of the fee back in wages. So essentially, if they get 100K off the books, they can only bring back 25K on. So I don't know how they're going to register all these players. So to bring
They're not.
Raphinha's 125 on, it's 500k off the wage bill a week.
They're not. That's the truth. And I always say this to people. Sometimes it just needs a bit of common sense when you read things online, because it's very easy to just react. And there's a lot of emotional people on Twitter that go, "Oh my God, fuck, we're fucked." But they don't actually think about it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Ben Jacobs said it a half hour ago. He did the same thing. He went, there's no way in hell Barcelona are registering all these players. They're not going to get Raphinha. They're not going to keep Dembélé. They're not going to get Lewandowski. They're not going to, you know what I mean? And they're not going to be able to bring Christensen on the books. They've got a number of people still coming in as well, haven't they? Like, it's just too much. It is well too much for them.
And they don't want to sell any of their assets, like, because it's once again the assets that are expensive, like the Fati, what's it called, Gavi and Pedri. Their wages aren't high, so they're not even like fixing a problem by bringing money in, because the wages are the issue. It's the Umtitis on the books, it's the Youngs, PKs that they're trying to offload, but they can't because no one wants them.
Who is Matteo Almeni? Who is that guy? Alimeni, the one that's
Barcelona.
Well, why would he leave? It says Raphinha's agent Deco is at the Barca offices today. Oh, right, he works at Barcelona. All right, cool. I thought he was leaving to meet this guy. No, I've read it wrong. Cool. Yeah, I mean, we heard 50 million for Ake, and now there's another report saying it's 30 mil, which makes more sense to me. Like I said, we shouldn't be spending more than 30 mil if we're getting that guy.
How do you not feel about the Ake deal?
It's just weird. I laughed when it first came out. I actually laughed. You can ask Pies. I actually laughed when he told me about it, and he's like, "Why are you laughing?" I went, "It's because it's just, how can you throw Ake in the names of Koulibaly, Koundé, de Ligt? Like, do you know what I mean? Skriniar we've been linked with. Oh yeah, and then we're just going to get Ake. Do you know what I mean? Like, just didn't make no sense, bro. For me, it just makes no sense.
Monster, what about you? How do you feel
about who? Ake?
I
just don't think it's. When Ake was here, right, especially in that semi-final against Tottenham, I thought he was amazing. You know, he pocketed Kane in that game under Conte, I think it was. I thought to myself, can this guy, you know, be that left-sided, you know, defender long term? And we sold him, and then selling him, we had a first refusal, I believe, or it was a buyback clause to get him back when he went to Bournemouth. Chelsea decided we're not going to go there. Especially, they decided that as well when we really needed defenders. They decided still not to go there. I just showed you where our heads were at. I do like Ake, especially for his time at the club at Cobham, and you know, for the little moments where he did play for us. But nah, to me, it's just like I think we should move on.
When you deep it a bit, it kind of, when I actually think about him coming to Chelsea, I kind of understand it to the point that he probably suits the way we play. If we stick to the three at the back, be it the versatility, you know, his ball progression is very good. He's good with the ball at his feet and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of merely makes sense to me to a degree, but then it just doesn't if he's one of the two main centre backs for me. Do you get what I mean? That's where I'm lost with it. It's just like, bring him for depth.
It stinks of an analytics signing, doesn't it?
Look at Fabrizio's latest tweet.
Oh, don't. You said that quite. I don't know.
Jem, it stinks of an analytics signing. Like some data analyst plug some numbers into a formula, in a model. Next thing you know, Ake scored high on the sheets, and they were like, "Oh, you know what?
What is this? What is this?
By the way, this is breaking news for me.
Chelsea made an attempt to hijack Richarlison deal before agreement between Everton. I didn't know that. Is that what you're talking about? That?
Yeah, that.
Before agreement between Everton and Tottenham.
Man.
I mean, what does that mean for Raphinha?
Chelsea made an attempt to hijack Richarlison deal before agreement between Everton and Tottenham in place since this morning for 60 mil. Spurs have full agreement with both EFC and Richarlison on personal terms. So are you telling me that Chelsea... Why would Chelsea do that unless they were worried they ain't getting Raphinha?
Exactly.
That's exactly why. That's exactly why.
That's what's triggered in my head. Why would they have done that? Shit.
It's like Chelsea...
This is the shit signing.
They're a bit all over the place right now. There's just too much going on. Like, is there a plan? Is there a real plan from us? I don't know. Like, this is crazy. And gosh, honestly,
we went in two extremes, haven't we? We went from Mourinho and them not being uber quiet to literally handing our number out to every girl in the bar. Like, it's got, everyone knows we've got money to spend, and it's the 60 million.
That just I may be reading too much into this, but that doesn't look good in terms of the Raphinha thing. If they've rushed this morning to do that, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know when they did that though. I don't know when. It
Yeah,
didn't say
that's true.
exactly
That's
when
true.
did it.
Yeah, it doesn't say
And
when.
you
It
know
just
what
says
it
made the hijack before agreement.
and
Mate,
if
they
you
could have
look
done
at
this
it as a
before they
trend,
agreed Raphinha. When you think about it,
yeah.
they could have done this before they threw their money at Raphinha. We don't know.
And it's Chelsea have made an attempt,
All
right?
right,
So
so
it's
there's
half times.
hold on, there's a update from Court Offside who says Raheem Sterling to Chelsea is all agreed.
Who?
Court Offside.
Let's have a look. Chelsea have made. No, I've seen that.
This Raheem deal is going to drag on, you know. Like, for me, I think this is the one that they're not worried about because no one else is interested in him.
Yeah, because they know they're
Weirdly,
going to get him.
yeah, and I think because there's no international clubs that want him and can pay him the wages that he wants, London makes sense. You don't see Arsenal or Spurs going in no competition. It's almost it's only thing that could happen is he changes his mind and stays for another 12 months.
Okay, so there's an
Where
update
is
as
that
well
one?
from Sky Sports News, and it says Barcelona are struggling with finances and they can't get anywhere near the money they Chelsea are offering. Chelsea in the driving seat. That's from Sky Sports News. So a lot of shit
How
just
many?
coming in as we
Why
are
can't I
speaking.
see it? Is this on Twitter?
This is on Twitter via Sky Sport. Let me just make sure that's recent.
Yeah, because I'm
I
looking at
think
Sky
it
Sports News. There's nothing on there.
Yeah, I am as well. Monsters literally saying names. I'm tapping
Where's
it
it
up.
gone?
You just need to send me. Why is this not coming up on my Twitter timeline? What is going on?
You know what? I'll be honest, yeah. I love the transfer window at this moment in time, but I hate it at the same time.
It's just a roller coaster, isn't it? I am literally on edge at the moment. It's too much.
And it makes you desperate. So it makes you literally desperate for a signing. So it gets to a point where you're not even making like valid reasoning for why you want the signing. You just want one across.
I genuinely can't see this Sky Sports News coming.
Oh, someone tweeted it out. Where is it gone?
It's like literally, it's not there. I've just gone on Sky Sports. There's nothing there. I've seen the one what you said from Court Offside about Sterling.
Right, this Richarlison deal so shit. What the fuck is going on, man? It makes
But
no
honestly,
sense.
would you want Richarlison on a level? Would you guys want Richarlison? No.
Nah.
He stinks of a player that is all passion, no technique. New manager comes in and we get him out.
Do you know what made me laugh?
He seems like just a functional sign. A lot of these guys seem like functional signers more than anything. That's it.
Do you know what Con said to me on it? Con went, do you know what Richarlison is? I went, what? He went, if we went on Wish and you were the Diego Costa, you'd end up getting Richarlison. that is literally it, isn't it?
And you know what else thinks about this Richarlison thing? Because Broja got 6 non-penalty goals last year. Richarlison got 7. Yet one is a youth prospect that we have on low wages, signed up for the next 5 years, but yet we're willing to throw 60 million in a bin for a player that, in my opinion, isn't that much better.
But that's Chelsea in a nutshell, though. Like I feel the same way about what's his name? What's his name? No, Ake and Colwell. Like to me, it just makes no sense. And we had that situation with the defenders we had. We had Tomori, we had Gehi. We decided let's sell them and waste all the time while negotiating for Rudiger and Christensen to sign, not covering our backs. And then look at what we have here. Now our budget is crippled because we got to get 2 centre backs in after losing those ones for free. These are just horrible decision making, not lack of long-term planning, lack of a vision. Like it's unbelievable.
And you know what the worst thing is? You're right, it's Monster. It's like Colwell leaving now. It's lessons not learned by the new regime. And it's so blatant about it.
Let's go through Simon Phillips' comments on this because he's saying, I wouldn't say this is absolutely means Raphinha/Dembélé is over, by the way. As we know, Chelsea are exploring all options and working on multiple deals at once. On the other side of this, RJP Journalism did report on the blog this morning that Chelsea are not happy with Deco.
Fuck Deco.
So that's Simon Phillips' fault. You know?
Are any of you worried that Raphinha is so desperate to join Barcelona?
I think he
A
is.
little.
I think we know that, though, don't
A
we?
little.
No,
I'm
but
a
doesn't that
little
worry
worried.
you?
Yeah, I'm a little
Because I
worried
got
he's
a lot of
wasting.
abuse.
I'm a little worried that he's wasting our time. What do you call it? He's
It's
wasting a
used
lot of our time, trying to get Barcelona to up the ante. Like, to me, that's a red flag to me.
And you know what else? Like, imagine we sign him, and next season Barcelona get a new takeover or some sort of injection, right? That allows them to operate normally.
That's
What's
fine.
stopping him literally?
I mean, we'll sell him for a profit. That's fine to me.
Cool.
As long as they pay.
Court offside was saying Barcelona in the driving seat. The club are literally doing everything in their power to sign Raphinha and beat Chelsea and Arsenal. Insane saga. Back and forth every hour. That's what they've said.
By the way, Ben Jacobs' comments on the stream, Gem, about Dembélé make me... Yeah, you know when he spoke about Dembélé saying the wages are just too unrealistic. Could this just be Chelsea retaliating to potentially not getting Raphinha and then going after Richarlison because Dembele's asking for something that's above and beyond what they can pay? That would be shit. That would be very, very bad. It would be underwhelming as well.
I think they just like playing their emotions, didn't they? These guys, I swear.
Yeah. American ownership love clicks.
Yeah, I know.
Like the Barcelona, it just doesn't make sense. Like, how are they getting this money?
They're not, but unless they've got this money and we don't know about it. But then everyone would know if Barcelona would, had the funds to operate again. Do you know what I mean?
How are they? Like, to me, it just makes no sense. Like La Liga are not doing anything about this. They are literally allowed to just splash the cash continually. It's getting ridiculous at this point. Financial fair play does not apply to these Spanish clubs for some reason. Like, it's becoming a joke now.
It's true though. If you honestly, FFP rules do not work for them. It's ridiculous. It's like Man City, bro. Same bullshit.
Yeah, but with Man City, there's some logic to what happens. They sell players. With these lot, all we're hearing is 700 million in debt, 700 million in debt, can't afford to register players. Christensen and Kessie have been asked to take wage cuts before they've even joined. Like,
crazy, right? Yet they're still able to go out and buy Raphinha for 60 odd mil. How does that make sense? If they buy him for 60 mil, how does it make sense? How is this allowed? How is this allowed?
That makes sense.
It's getting ridiculous now. Like, it just seems like financial fair play applies to only other clubs.
They can't even register players, bruv. That's true. They can't even register players. How are they buying more players? They can't register.
And the worst thing is, they've got Koundé waiting for them, basically, and they've got Lewandowski twerking. Like, he must be getting some sort of confirmation that this is happening.
This is on Chelsea, though, Alexis, because Koundé, for example, who's wanted Chelsea for the last 2 seasons, because Chelsea don't want to meet their release clause, they just leave. They just left it. They're just dwelling on it. They're waiting for Sevilla to drop it so that then they can come to an agreement. But what will happen is, like we're seeing now, Barcelona eventually will sort themselves out and go, "Oh, there you go." Do you know what I mean? And we just miss again. And like, I'm getting frustrated. We need to. I don't want us to do stupid things and sign players for stupid money. I don't. I really don't. I want us to do right signings. But at the moment, Barcelona are fucking football up. At the moment, they are fucking football up. They are fucking their window up badly, mate. Guys, there's nearly 1,000 of you here combined. Big up to every single one of you guys at the moment as well. Make sure that you subscribe to Monster CFC. Go and check out Alexis on the Cavcast View as well, guys. Go and subscribe to them too as well. What do you mean, ES?
Oh, this is crazy.
What's she done? What's she done now? I don't even really read ES Grimes. What's she done?
Oh, ES Grimes is an interesting account, man. 9 out of 10 times she comes out with the most outlandish statements, and then it comes out to be true. And you're like, did she guess that, or does she know something?
A lot of people are reacting, saying Raphinha's dusted. That's what everyone's saying now on Twitter, on the timeline. They're actually worried.
It's fine. It's not. No.
I think we need to just wait. I keep telling people,
I
just
think so
breathe and wait. Breathe and wait. What was I going to show you guys? What was I going to show you?
Have you noticed how it went from Dembélé to this really quickly, and now no mention? I haven't seen a single Dembélé tweet in 24 hours, 48 hours.
The mistake will be if they get Dembélé and Raphinha. I doubt that would happen. But if they get both, then that would
No,
be
they
the biggest.
won't. They won't. It don't make logical sense. It doesn't make logical sense. What? How can they have Raphinha and Dembele unless Dembele accepts the lowered contract that he's being offered? And then on top of that, you already know that Raphinha's there, which means you're going to be fighting for your spot anyway. This guy was moaning about getting game time originally, from what we've been told. So it make no sense. Raheem Sterling to Chelsea is all agreed, apparently. Yeah, that's what it says. That's what Simon Phillips have retweeted as well.
No one cares about Raheem Sterling at this moment in time. Fuck. This is such a shit window. I'm so annoyed.
I was going to end the stream, and it's like there's 1,000 people here, and I've just got a feeling something's going to happen because there's just news coming on top of news at the moment. I'm waiting.
All right, hold on. How many players do you think we're actually going to sign this window? Like, let's be realistic about this. 5, 6, allegedly.
It'll be 5 or 6.
And
But
how much
I wanted us to get rid of players, man, and get some of these guys out the paint. Like, get them out. Like,
Who?
No, just the guys that are not needed anymore. Just let them go, man. Aspi, Alonso, Emerson. Who else is there? Obviously 2 of the attackers. So I would say,
get rid of Barkley, bro.
Yeah, Barkley, Werner,
Ziyech. Get them all out, like,
yeah,
legit.
Like,
I'm fully with you on this. But you know what the problem is, Monster? If they let Aspi go, all of a sudden we have 2 centre backs on the books. Oh, Sarr as well. Yeah, we'll have 2 centre backs on the book, and that's what they're scared of, in my opinion. And most probably the interest isn't there for those players because we're pricing them too high.
Bakayoko.
No, we're not. I don't think this administration is pricing these players too high. As you saw the way they compromised with Lukaku's fee. If that was Marina, we would have dragged that out. She would have probably stayed, but say they did want to get rid of him, they would have dragged that out till the end of the window and dragged out every penny. You saw it happen with Zuma. That took forever.
Yeah. Mate, they would have given Raphinha 200k a week. That's what Marina.
That Zuma deal took so long. Like, it was ridiculous.
And in my opinion, it fucked up the Koundé deal. It really messed up the Koundé deal last summer.
Well, yeah, it did. Well, Sevilla mucked it up, didn't they, as well, to be honest, with their they wanted the full release clause, didn't they, when originally they agreed to have it a less, but I don't know.
Thing is, I'm not going to lie, Jem, yeah. I don't blame these Spanish clubs for wanting their full release clause. Like, it'll cost them so much money to go replace a Koundé because they can't even. It's not like they can go and splash 60 million on a defender because the defender won't want to join them. So they need to go and find the next gem that's going to keep them competitive.
I like that one. I don't know, man. I'm drained. I just want to see a player through the door. That is literally it. I just want to see a player through the door. And it seems like Sterling's done, but I'm going to wait for more tears to come out for that one. But
yeah, I'm not worried about Sterling because I always thought that's going to get done. I want to know what the next one is. Like, to me, Sterling can hold the back burner because we know.
Give it on the worst case scenario, Monster. We don't get Raphinha. Richarlison's gone to Tottenham. Then Dembélé stays at Barca. What do we do next?
I would go for Serge Gnabry personally.
That's not a bad shout. I actually wouldn't mind that as well. I think it's good.
But you see the problem there is, right? Isn't he too similar to Sterling? Like, they're both finishers. They're not the creative type. Like, for me, it's either or. And then you have a creative one to coincide with Havertz at false 9.
That makes sense as well. Because we do need that creative one.
That's why I'm so desperate for Dembélé. The problem with Dembélé is that we signed him at first day of the season. He pulls a muscle and out for 4 weeks, 5 weeks. It's very stop-start.
Who knows? Who knows, guys? Who knows? We've got a super player, haven't we? Where is it? I've just missed it. Artem with the donation. He says, thank you, bro. Thank you for the donation. He says, if we don't get Raphinha, we will probably go for Dembélé and invest some money from Raphinha transfer fee into another player, possibly De Ligt. What do you think, guys?
I don't see Dembélé happening anymore, you know. And this is a sad thing. Like, I think he's pricing himself out of a move unless he comes down to our expectations. Like, I'm surprised Newcastle or someone aren't trying to get him.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing with Newcastle is I don't think they have much pulling power. I know they've got the money, but until they get themselves up the table and they start challenging and things like that, I don't think they're going to attract the best players,
Yeah. Someone literally just tweeted on my timeline, Chelsea have no scouting. They just literally look at players being linked with moves and decide to buy them. That's actually spot on.
I don't think that's true because Chelsea were interested in Raphinha from last year before Arsenal or anyone else. So we've been scouting him for a long time. That's I don't think that's necessarily true.
How do you explain the Richarlison thing though? This is what I'm baffled about.
Yeah, the Richarlison one's the one that baffled me. But if you listen to London is Blue podcast last year when Matt Law was going on, he was always talking about Chelsea wanting Raphinha, especially if Leeds get relegated, then they're going to want to push for it. And you saw Tuchel speaking to him in that game as well. So it's nothing new. We've been doing this for a minute now.
What do you think about Tuchel taking the piss out of Lukaku? That was funny, man. That did make me laugh when he said, your daddy's over there. Oh, shit. That is funny, man.
That thing was a mess, wasn't it?
That was a mess.
Honestly, I've never wanted to look at a player more out of our dressing room than...
The problem is, Monster backed him from the beginning hard, man, and he fucked Monster badly.
I mean, he didn't fuck me. Like,
I know, but you thought it was going to be a success, and he just farted on us, didn't he? You know what I mean?
Hey, Johnny made me laugh, man. Johnny went from going Lukaku's going to get 35 goals to all of a sudden being his number one critic and finding like...
Jim, do you still like to see Koundé at the bridge? You know Koundé's my guy. Like, if there's one defender I want more than any of the ones that we're linked to, it's Jules Koundé. I've said it for a very long time. I think he fits everything in the way that we play. And I just don't get it. I really don't get why we're not getting this done. He's a top player as well.
Especially if we're going with a right center, like having him as a right centre back. It just fits nicely.
He does, bro.
He's comfortable. He's comfortable going out.
And his recovery pace, Alexis, is serious. Like if he doesn't get beaten, if there is a quick player, he'll be able to keep up with him, put it that way. So, he's good on the ball. He gets forward. He's solid. Like people moan about his aerial, he's height, but he's won 3/4 of his aerial duels over the seasons that he's been in La Liga, the last 2 seasons. Like, let's not do that. He's got a good spring.
Oh, but the thing is, though, in La Liga, the emphasis isn't on aerial battles, though. In the Premier League, the emphasis is a lot. Huh? I know, but they don't necessarily lump the ball up in the Premier League, in the La Liga as much as they do in the Prem. So you do have to take that into consideration.
What team in the Premier League lumps the ball up the pitch now?
There's quite a few of them that still do.
Who?
Especially when a defender like Koundé is there, he will become a target. And it's not hard to pin a short defender down when you're when an attack is behind a defender, and this I'm telling you as someone that played, when you're behind a defender, it's not hard to pin them down to head the ball. You see it a lot. It happens a lot in the Prem.
I don't think he's the way I've seen him defend aerially is he always gives himself a space between him and the striker. He's never very touch tight. So I get the whole thing of pinning him down and not allowing him to jump. But I think that's why I think he relies on his spring to be able to compete with these tall strikers. And probably it's just judging the jump for him. And I agree. If he gets pinned in the box, he's not going to beat, I don't know, who's big, someone that's tall. ZVO, Matt, big up to you, bro. Nice to see you in the house as well. It's gone quiet again from Big Salt. That's because they drop some bombs and then they disappear for a little bit. And then we'll probably get another bomb in a couple of hours' time.
They have a group chat, right? Where they go now. And they dump it and they just disappear.
Master come out saying that apparently there is a growing uneasiness in Sevilla due to the absence of news in Koundé case. There is no call from Chelsea to negotiate the French central defender. That's what they've said there. Dembele's contract ends today. Barca have not registered free agent signings Christensen and Kessie. The same would happen with Dembele if he signs a new contract.
By the way, you do know what's it called with Dembele, right? If he doesn't re-sign today and becomes a free agent, they're going to have a similar issue they had with Messi, where they won't be allowed to re-sign him. because he'll go to the bottom of like list of players they're trying to re-sign. Because I remember they tried to keep Messi, but it was too late because he became an official free agent. So the moment he becomes an official free agent, it counts as a new signing.
But the thing is as well, they just, even if they could have gotten him, they just couldn't. They just didn't have the money in general, so they couldn't register him regardless. They just
Simon Phillips has tweeted saying, "No, let's have a look." Chelsea's late move for Richarlison wasn't random. They had inquired about a fee 2 weeks ago, but they have been on other targets at the same time. That's what he's just said 2 minutes ago.
I wouldn't be surprised if what Chelsea are doing is getting agreements in early for all of them, and then whichever one they can sign, they'll sign.
Of course, I've been saying this for time. Todd Bowley is. I said to Ben Jacobs earlier, like I feel like he's just walking around putting his fingers in each and every pie, and then like keeping the doors open so that if one does close, he's got one there. Do you know what I mean? But
this is very basketball level, though. You know, like NBA, this happens a lot. They agree like numerous deals. And then if their first deal breaks down, they straight away just activate the second one and it goes through.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just an America. We need to get used to this. Right. I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I don't know if you guys saw they've had a bid rejected for Lewandowski.
Yeah, 40
How much?
Mil.
40 mil with 5 mil in bonuses.
Is that 40 mil euros? Is that euros, the 40 mil?
Euros, yeah.
Yeah.
How much are Bayern expecting for him, though? This is what I don't understand.
I don't know. I think like 50 or 60.
He's worth it, though, man. He's unreal. Still unreal, isn't he? He's so unreal. He's so unreal. He's still scoring loads of goals, 30, 40 goals a season. He is a baller. This thing about Neymar as well, we've got to get this out of our heads, man. This Neymar news. People need to stop.
Neymar's not coming Chelsea. Like, I think people need to let that one go.
But apparently, it's all a facade. This Dembélé and Raphinha news that Tuchel apparently wants Neymar and Neymar and Dembélé, the two that apparently he wants.
What about Sterling? What about Sterling? Like, come on,
Tuchel will not want to work with Neymar again.
I don't think so either.
He can speak the world of him. He can speak the world of Mbappe, but he hated that job with a passion because he couldn't do anything he wanted. He had 9 men to control. The other 2 did what they wanted. And he will not, especially after what happened with Lukaku, do you think he wants to put himself through that again?
I am shocked that we didn't go for Basuma. I still can't.
I didn't understand that, man. Like,
I don't get how he's gone for 25 M's, man. I don't think people realize how good of a player.
I don't think Chelsea I don't think they rated him or saw him as the type of midfielder they wanted.
Monster. I was at the bridge when we played Brighton and we drew 1-1. This guy was jogging past our midfield and he made it look so easy. I'm not joking. It was embarrassing. I've never seen a midfielder do that.
No, our midfield, that happens a lot against us. Like, I'm not even going to say or lie to you. That happens a lot. I don't think people understand how much Rudiger, Thiago Silva bailed us out last season, and even Chalobah to an extent. They had so many one-on-ones. I don't think I've ever seen Chelsea have had our defenders, what do you call it, one-on-one against attackers so much. It was so ridiculous. Our midfield did not help out one bit last season. Well, they did at times, but it was nowhere near enough as it should be. And Rudiger and Thiago Silva were just a different class. Like, these guys were crazy last season. That's probably why. That's probably why Thiago Silva burnt out towards the end.
Yeah, we relied on him too much. We relied on the defense too much, and ultimately, I don't want us to go into that. I don't want to go into this season where we don't have the right forwards up front that are being clinical, and we're only winning games 1-0, and it's because our defense is like solid, like having 9 out of 10 games all the time. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't always have to be the defense having to save our asses.
The defense was saving our ass all season. They were scoring the goals, and they were obviously bailing us out at the other end. I remember Matt Law saying this back in was in November or December. He was saying this is not sustainable. The way our goals are coming from the defenders, and they're saving goals at the other end. It could implode. And you know, as soon as Chilwell went down, you saw what happened. So
And I remember the XG was mad. And the XG,
crazy,
we literally, I think the XG was like 20 at one point, and we conceded 12 goals.
Yeah,
and
it was
in my
crazy.
group chats, I was going crazy. I was like, this is going to come back to bite us. And at the end of the season, XG leveled out with the goals conceded because we went on a horrible run towards the end of the season. And you know what's worrying now with Thiago Silva? It doesn't seem like the club's actually planning to give him a rest. I feel like he's going to play 30 games again this year if he's fit.
He must have played more than 30 last season.
I mean, in the league,
he played about 40 odd games easily. I'm gonna have a look at Thiago Silva. Let's have a look at that. I don't think, and this is the thing. People go, yeah, Thiago Silva is going to be laying back. He's not. People got to take his thing. He's not going to be laying back next season.
He played 32 games in the Prem last season, 48 overall. That's disgusting.
40s, that's what I said. High 40s.
That is disgusting.
I think he's in the top 3, you know, because I know Rudiger played the most, and I think Thiago is the next one, and that's not right on any level. Like, that's just not right. And the worrying thing is,
go on. No, God, I was going to say, do you know why I like the whole Raheem Sterling deal? I mean, I'm not a massive fan of him. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's like amazing, but at the same time, when you look at his output levels, they're very good. But when you think about, he's only missed 25 games since 2012-13, and this guy plays 50 plus games a season for Man City. You know what I mean? That is impressive from an injury standpoint. We don't have forwards that actually have that kind of. Do you know what I mean? Like that last, shall we say, when you got like Pulisic and Ziyech who got injured how many times in 2 seasons, and Werner picked up here and there, and like Sterling he seems pretty hard. Do you know what I mean?
And I'm done with those two, by the way, the ones you mentioned, and not because they're just bad players. I'm done with them because you can't count on them. It's like you're depending on them staying fit, and then they break down, and then you wait for 3 weeks for them to re-up again and get some match fitness, and then they break down again. Something's always going wrong. Just move on and get some durable players. I think that needs to be another thing that we look at. Stop looking for discounts because he's not durable, so give us a little discount.
Yeah. Guys, do not send me messages from the Mirror about Raphinha. But Mirror have brought out saying Raphinha remark appears to hand Chelsea the edge over Arsenal in transfer battle. Some remark. I don't know what he said, but anyway, we move. What you say, Monster?
Yeah, I can't remember. I literally just lost my train of thought there. I was going to say something that Alexis was going to speak, or Alexis said, but I can't even remember what he said.
The durability of the players, man. I think it's important.
Yeah, that's it. I like the reason why I still like the sign of Raphinha and Sterling is they're durable players. I think we need to focus more on durable players, because it's really important. And I remember, obviously, I know how you guys feel about Rice, but I still want Rice personally. I know you guys feel differently about him, but when they were someone did a comparison of all the metrics for midfielders in this league, the top 3 midfielders. So it was 4. It was Jorginho, Rice, Fabinho, and Rodri. Obviously, Rice was like top 2 in nearly every metric, but the most important metric as well for me that stood out the most was when they were comparing minutes played and games out injured, and Rice is so durable compared to the other guys. I think Chelsea need to go for that. Sterling is durable. Is durable as well. Like, we need to go the durable route. You saw with Liverpool as well. Liverpool been going for players that are durable, apart from obviously Thiago. The rest of them.
How many games did Declan Rice play last season?
I think he played all of them. But yeah, I think he was rested. He was like rested. I don't think he missed one injured. It was just like resting because of Europa League.
So yeah,
Rice is a good player.
48 games last season.
Rice is a good player, right? Don't get me wrong. My issue just always comes down to the fact that I don't know how his game is going to translate into a team that has so much of the ball, and the onus is going to be on him to move it quickly and open it up a bit. And the second thing, it's the price, man. If I'm seeing De Jong's going for 65 million, I can't justify in my head he's a £100 million player. Like,
that's fair enough, but they're not the same. They don't play the same position.
But De Jong will play the 6.
He'll play the other 6. If you get what I mean, he'll play the other, because Man United, yeah, they're getting De Jong, but they still need to buy a defensive midfielder, right?
I don't think they will. I genuinely
They
think
probably
Fred.
won't. They probably won't, but it's them doing things backwards. Do you know what I mean? Because let's be real, Fred's not that guy. You saw with Liverpool, they already had Fabinho before they brought in Thiago. Do you get what I mean? You're not going to really play Thiago by himself. I think Chelsea will, which would be stupid, but you don't play them by themselves, do you? You play them with a defensive midfielder.
Crucial days for Raphinha's situation. His agent Deco is in talks with Barcelona while Chelsea reach an agreement with Leeds. Raphinha prefers Barcelona as per Nathan Gissin, but there are financial issues. What would be the financial issues? I don't get that. Is it the wage? He's getting double the wage from Chelsea
No,
that he got
it's
from
not
Leeds.
Chelsea. It's just financial issues
It's
with Barcelona.
Oh, Barcelona. Sorry. Okay. Talk on personal terms starting soon also with Chelsea. So that was today.
Jem, you know what I do now? You're gonna laugh, yeah, but I look at the news I look at the news between 11 and 1, and then I turn off Twitter and I come back between 5 and 7, because otherwise you just see regurgitated news in different words.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's just too much, isn't it?
Yeah, it just drains you.
And plus, I'm working in between this as well. Meant to be working now, funny enough, but
I've got 18 minutes left, and I need to go read some boring OSA, like 89-page PDF. So it's gonna be a long evening,
guys. An hour and 45 minutes. We've gone through most of what would be breaking from the tier ones through this show as well. We expect more to happen later on. Obviously, Deco's making his way to London, supposedly. So we'll see what comes of that with Chelsea. I am expecting... What is this now? I am expecting... once Thomas Tuchel has had his say, Todd Bowley is said to have been hammering the phones in pursuit of those targets they have identified. That's from the Mouse Ball. But yeah, okay, cool.
I'm not really saying much, but yeah, go on.
I've just lost my train of thought. People stop sending me people stop messaging me these tweets, please. Some of them are just like, all right, cool. Anyway, yeah. So look, we've covered most of it. It's going to be more that's going to happen later on. I think Monster's streaming later, so you'll be able to catch it with Monster. You streaming later, Monster?
Yeah, I'll be streaming probably around like 5 or 6. Or if there's a major update, then I'll go on live straight away. But if not, I'll wait until like 5 or 6. Then I'll stream.
There you go. So that should be the next sort of stint of news where we will hear more from Deco's meeting with Chelsea or in London, whatever the outcome will be from that. So you'll be able to catch that with Monster. We will obviously review that ourselves. Probably not today because I've got lots to do later on. But yeah, make sure you check out Monster CFC. There's still over 950 of you guys here combined. We've got about 500 plus on Chelsea Fan TV at the moment. 600 on there. And on GNA, we've got around nearly 400. So big up to all of you guys that are on the channels as well. Watch us all the way through as well. Big up to everyone. Follow Alexis on his YouTube as well, the Cavcast View. Alexis, you don't do any lives, do you? It's more like pre-recorded.
No, I don't have time, man, literally. So for me, it's pre-recorded, quick edit, quick summary of 10, 15 minutes of your day. You get your Chelsea fix and piss off. They enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Check it out. Nice. It's good. It's good. It's definitely good stuff that you're doing over there as well. So make sure you go and check him out. And check out Monster. Go and check out Monster CFC as well. Apparently, Con is hosting the space. If you want to go over to Twitter, go and check out my boy Con as well. I'll probably go and listen to that while I'm working. Big up to every single one of you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back again very, very soon. And yeah, peace out.
Peace out.